2011 Ford F-150 with a 5.0 Coyote engine. Got a leaky oil pan gasket. Gonna show you how to replace it. First, you want to pop your hood. So once you get your hood open here, first thing we're gonna do is drain the oil. So go ahead and pull off your oil fill cap here. Next, you want to climb underneath here. Now this truck does have a lift kit on it, so it sits a little higher. If you guys need to, you can jack it up. But you'll want to remove the, there's a large metal skid plate right here, but there's a total of 4 13mm bolts. There's one right there on that cross member, and then another one on that cross member. I already removed that because I went ahead and tried to degrease this as much as I could because there was just oil all over the place under here. So that's why I already have it off. But go ahead and take that skid plate off with the 4 13mm bolts. Next, go ahead and get you a drain pan. Locate your oil pan drain plug there. That's going to be a 15mm. And let's go ahead and drain the oil. We'll go ahead and let that drain. And then while we let that drain, while we're under here, let's go ahead and disconnect this oil level sensor here. So you got a little tab right on top. You can squeeze it with your thumb, and that should just unplug. So if you get your finger on here and then wiggle that back and forth, there's that. And then just a little ways past that, you're going to see where this wiring connector is hooked onto the oil pan right there. So if you take a cat's claw or a trim tool like this, try to get up underneath that and unclip that. Just like that. So now that's free from the oil pan. And then once that's pretty much done draining, go ahead and replace your drain plug here so it's not dripping on you. Just get that snug, finger tight's fine. Next, we're going to remove this cross member piece here. So you're going to have 18mm nuts on this side, and then on the back side, grab a 15mm wrench. And that's going to be on that side there. So go ahead and zap those off. Pull those out. Give you guys a view of this side as well. So go ahead and do this side. Next, just go ahead and grab a pry bar here. Try to get up under here. You should be able to just pry this downward. And remove this piece. Like that. So with that same pry bar, come over here. This is going to be on the passenger side, right by your starter. These are going to be the wires for your starter. And there's a little plastic clip here that connects to the oil pan. So let's go ahead and remove that. All you got to do is get behind that with your pry bar and then just pry outward, and it should pop off of there. Just like that. So now that is detached from the oil pan as well. So then come up to the front here, and then we want to remove this oil filter. It's like a drain from when you pull the oil filter and it flows down here, but it reaches all the way over here. But you got 2 8mm bolts right here we're going to remove, and then there's going to be a third one right there. And I think that's all to get this cover off. I went ahead and dug in there. You can see just how filthy that is in here. That's why you always wipe this off after you're done doing an oil change. Whoever did this before never wipe this off, but I think it's just those 3. So let's get those 3 out, and then we'll see if we need to do any more up there. So now let's see if we can get this off of here without making a mess. Move my camera out of the way here. So now let's see if I can get it out of here. There we go. So let's pull this out. Like I said, I'm trying not to make a mess because you can see all that gunk that just build up over time. That's why you always clean this off. after you pull that filter off, but obviously nobody ever did when they had this. And guys, I wasn't even thinking, I guess we should have pulled the oil filter before we pulled that. But go ahead and pull your oil filter, or like I said, if you want to do it beforehand, it'll just make a little bit more of a mess maybe. And whoever put this on, put it on way too tight. Ah, jeez. Yeah, somebody put this on way too tight. Just make sure you got your pan under there. Collect some of this. Next, grab a 10mm, and we need to disconnect the transmission cooling lines here along with this harness. So go ahead and take that 10mm nut off there. And then just disconnect that. We got this plastic one here. Just kind of pull that off out of the way there. And it looks like you got another clip right here. So go ahead and try and pop that off of there. Or if you can just pull down on it here, like that. Then if you take a look, there's gonna be one more clip. So that one we just removed, you can see that one back in there. Kind of hard to get into here. Well, you wanna remove that one as well. So that is off of there. All right, guys, so I was hoping we could do this job without having to drop the front differential here, but it looks like it's not going to be possible. There's a little indentation here on the oil pan, but once we get this loosed, we need to go down quite a bit, I believe, because the pickup tube is going to be in there, and we don't want to get snagged on that as we're trying to pull this out. So let's go ahead and drop this differential a little bit, at least down to maybe where it's about almost hitting this piece of the frame, I'm thinking. But there's going to be, looks like, I took a look, it looks like 3 bolts. I'll show you those here. So like I said, there's going to be 3 bolts holding the differential up. I'm going to go ahead and remove 2, and then the third one I won't remove until I get a jack underneath the differential there to hold it. So just be cautious of that. But the first one here, there's only going to be 1 bolt on the passenger side. So here's the back side of the nut there, and you can see it got this bracket on there. So you don't need to put a wrench on this side, because this bracket will actually catch on the frame, and then you can zip the bolt out from the other side. So let's go ahead and do that one first. So I'll move my camera over to the other side. So what you want to do is grab an 18mm, and you can grab a socket or a wrench. You might be able to get with an extension through the front here. I'm just going to use a 18mm ratcheting wrench here. And like I said, you don't need one on the back side because that should catch. So let me get on here. See if we can break that free. I figured there's so much, this thing was just caked in oil. I figured it loosened up some of these bolts. But you can see there's that piece on the nut there. You can see it'll just spin, and then it'll eventually just catch. So go ahead and spin this off. So then you can pull the nut off there, and this may not come out on you because it's catching on the differential because there's no jack underneath it. So you can just kind of push up on it, pull this bolt out. You can see that will come down just a little bit. But like I said, we still got those other 2 in there holding it up. So just be careful as you guys are doing this. Let's go ahead and remove that other one, and then we'll get our jack underneath. So the second one you're going to want to remove is going to be, here's your differential cover right here. And if you take a look, right up there, see that bolt right there? That's the one you're going to remove. And there is no nut on the back side. The threads are actually into the differential, so you can just unscrew that without holding the back. and I'll show you an easier way to access that from the front here. So I think before I go ahead and loosen that second bolt, I'm just going to go ahead and place a jack under here for support right now. I just don't want this thing dropping for some reason. I mean, I think it'll catch on that frame either way, but just to be safe, just get a jack under here, right underneath the pumpkin there. And I'm kind of putting it to an angle here, that way we can still crawl up under here, get all those pan bolts and that sort of stuff. So I'm gonna go about right there. Like I said, I'm not gonna jack on it, just put it right there, just kind of for support. So then if you take a look, there is that bolt. And of course, here was your oil filter, your alternator, and then your steering shaft. And like I said, you can use the ratcheting wrench 18mm like I did on the other side, or you can come through here with a long extension and zap it off with your impact, which is what I'm gonna do. So get your impact, 18mm socket. See if I can get up in here maybe. And go ahead and zap that off of there. I'm not sure what we're getting caught on here. So I'm not exactly sure what I'm getting caught on. Let's try this again here. Oh, there we go. Just need to go a little more here. Okay, so there's that one. And then your last one, it's gonna be right there. And that's gonna be a 21mm. Again, make sure your differential is supported before you remove this. And you can use a socket with an extension and a ratchet and get up in here. I'm gonna use this wobble socket. This works pretty good. So let's go ahead and get that one off of there. And there's that one. So now I'm going to just slowly lower this diff. Again, I'm going to watch right here. I'm just going to go right kind of on top of that, I think, but not fully sitting on it. So just slowly lower the jack and be careful doing this. You can see it coming down there. Go a little more here. I kind of did that a little fast, but you can see, I think we'll go ahead and just try it. I think we'll be good right there. Let's go ahead and just give that a shot. If we have to go more, we can. Okay guys, so one other thing I'm thinking, I'm wondering if this sway bar needs to get out of the way here. So I'm wondering if we just drop it down, because I got to looking, I'm wondering if we pull this pan out, if we're gonna hit on that, because we're gonna have to bring it down and then slide it out this way. So I'm wondering if this is gonna be in the way. Let's just go ahead and pull it. I think we can leave the ends on. Let's just go ahead and do just these two right here, and then these two here. And those are gonna be 15mm. So go ahead and pull those. So yeah, just like that. That should give us enough room to drop that. And then if you guys want to, take a look at your sway bar bushings here. And if you need to, now's a good time to replace those. But I'm thinking that's probably going to be enough now. I'm just trying to think what else. I think we got everything off of the actual pan. And I'm not sure on these cooling lines. Looks like we may have a bracket right here that we may disconnect. And then if you guys take a look, you can see the differential is actually sitting right on this frame piece right here. So you may not, I mean, for safety purpose, I would keep a jack under here. But as you can see, it does just drop straight on that. And I think it would have a hard time coming off of there. But I would still use a jack just for safety purposes. And then I am going to disconnect this bracket here for the transmission cooling lines, just to see if maybe that'll give us a little more wiggle room here so we can get to those bolts a little easier. Like I said, 13 millimeter on that. So go ahead and take that one off. Okay, so finally, you can see how long that bolt is. So yeah, unscrew that one. It's just funny because you think the bolts that are going to be easiest are actually the hardest, but you can see that gives us a little more wiggle room now instead of those being super tight. So yeah, I think that'll work. Okay, so I think that's all we need to do in order to get the pan out of here. So now we can go ahead and go around, start getting these 10 millimeter bolts out of the pan. I think what I'm going to do is just loosen this first one here, not fully pull it out until we're ready to remove the whole pan, but I'll go ahead and start removing the rest. And you guys want to be careful right around here too. You got your starter right here, so you want to make sure you don't arc anything. If you want to, you can disconnect your battery just to be on the safe side, but just be careful working around that starter there and those wires. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of loosen this one for now. But not fully pull it out. And then to go ahead and start pulling these ones all the way out. And some of these are pretty tight, and you can move these lines pretty easy too. So you can just move that. Still not the easiest getting in here. There we go. So again, I pulled that one out a little too much. Let me just screw that one back in. So those will be the two we removed last. So then the next one you can access going right through here with a long extension. You got your diff cover here. And that one's actually going to be the stud. And the studs are going to be 13 millimeters. So just remember where those went. I think there's 3 of them. So go ahead and take that one off. Yeah, long extension, get up in here. So there's that one. And then the rest of them you should be able to access from the front here. So this stud here. And then this 10 millimeter right here. And then I think the rest of them, so that 10 millimeter we're gonna have to get a wrench for. And then this one here on the stud, because there's just stuff in the way, we'll have to use a wrench on that. So let me grab a 10 millimeter and a 13. So go ahead and try this one here. There, finally. I'm not sure why that one took forever to get out. So now let's try this one here. That one's just kind of hard to get into because of the oil filter housing right there. Okay, so There's that one. We'll have to find it, drop down somewhere right here. So that one's out of there. Okay, so that should be all of them. Just double check to make sure. Now I'm just gonna take like a putty knife here. Just see if we can get in here to kind of separate this. So like that, you can see it kind of drop down there. So then come back to the back here. And again, I got those two on the end just barely in there. But let's go ahead and get these other two out of here with your 10 millimeter. Like that. You can see that drop down a little bit, but since we got those two end ones in, that's pretty much what's holding it up here. So let me move my camera. So now let's see how hard this is gonna be. I'm gonna go ahead and pull these two out of here while holding this up. Drop that down. And like I said, you do have your pickup tube there, so we're gonna have to figure out how to get around that. There we go. Just go ahead and get this out of here. Just like that. And then just get you a pan. You can see that drip tube, or the pickup tube is dripping a little bit. And then just be careful too, you got your dipstick right here as well. Okay, so now with that oil pan out of the way here, what you'll want to do next is we're going to need to get this gasket surface all cleaned up. So I got some plastic scrapers I got off of Amazon. I'll probably use those. But you want to just get this gasket surface nice and clean. I'll use some brake clean too. You don't want to spray brake clean up in there. Just spray it on your rag and then just try and wipe this. Get it as clean as possible as you can. You'll want to go all the way around here. Now this truck, I'm hoping that it's the oil pan gasket. Now this does have 202,000 miles on it, so it could be a combination of the oil pan gasket plus the rear main seal. But gonna start out with the oil pan gasket here. And like I said, this was just drenched in oil just everywhere. It was all over the skid plate. I did go ahead and pull the skid plate and degrease this whole thing before I got started, just because there was so much oil and just dirt attached to everything. So if you guys are going to do this job and it was like this one, just go ahead and degrease everything before you pull this pan and all that. It just makes it a little bit easier. So I'm going to go ahead and get this all cleaned up, and let's go ahead and take a look at our pan real quick. So then go ahead and grab your pan here, and let's just go ahead and drain the rest of this oil out of here. So try and get the rest of that out of there. And then just look for any sludge at the bottom here. This is where your sludge will build up, but it looks like this engine isn't bad at all. I did a 5.3 Silverado not too long ago, and it was just caked with sludge at the bottom of the pan here. Once you get that pretty much drained out of there, let's see if we can pull this gasket off of here. So this should just lift off. Like I said, these gaskets are known to leak, especially after like 100,000 miles on them. But there's the old gasket. And then what we'll do next is I'm going to do kind of the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and get this pan all cleaned up, scraped out. I'll probably just end up spraying this with some brake clean as well. Get this nice and clean. I'll go ahead and do that because I'm at a standstill right now. I'm still waiting on the Amazon guy for the oil pan gasket plus oil and filter. I ordered it all through Amazon, so I'm kind of waiting on that delivery to get here. So in the meantime, I'll go ahead and clean this pan up, clean up where the pan goes underneath there on the engine, and then we'll wait for the Amazon guy. All right, guys, so as you can see, the Amazon guy showed up, delivered our oil pan gasket along with some other stuff as well. So the oil pan gasket is going to be from Felpro. OS30850R. And I'll put links in the description for all this stuff. I also picked up a Motorcraft oil filter, FL-500S. 2 5-quart jugs of the Motorcraft 5W20 motor oil. And I figured while I'm at it, let's just go ahead and replace the oil pan drain plug as well. That's from Dorman 65430. And then this stuff I had laying around, but you can get this off Amazon as well. This is the Permatex, the Right Stuff black gasket maker. And this stuff has a cure time of 90 minutes. You can use right after 90 minutes of letting it sit. This is what we'll be using. There's 4 spots underneath there that we need to add this stuff where the engine block meets and all that. And then, as you can see, I did get the oil pan all cleaned out. Like I said, I just kind of scraped along here wherever there was that gasket material. And then a bunch of brake clean. Try not to spray your oil level sensor there with brake clean. So just spray in this area, wipe it out with a bunch of rags, and it'll come clean. And then I use some compressed air just to make sure I didn't get any of the paper towel dust and all that in there. So, all right, guys, so go ahead and grab your new gasket here. And if you notice, there's a couple tabs on each side. Those are going to go towards the drain plug area there. And those are supposed to click around, kind of hold into place here. And this one here. But you can see if I let go, it just pops back upward. And then the gasket's not very lined up. Same with up here. Kind of the same thing. The gasket kind of comes inward, and then your holes don't line up. So I think what I'm going to use is the zip tie method. I did this before on a Chevy Silverado 5.3 liter. So what I'll do is I'll probably grab like 4 zip ties and use a couple up here and a couple down here. And I'll go through the bolt hole. And that will hold this gasket into place and keep it from moving around as we get it up in there. And then we'll get some of the bolts started. And then I'll go ahead and cut the zip ties, and then we can just pull them straight out. And then we'll stick the bolts through those. It's a pretty good method of keeping this oil pan gasket from moving around as we're getting it up in there. So what I'll do is get your gasket kind of lined up there. Take a couple zip ties here. So just something kind of like that. And then what we can do is once we get these ones started, then we can cut this one and then get the bolt through there. So I'll do the same thing, probably just to the other side here, because that's where these tabs are. So go ahead and stick that one through. So something kind of like that. And then for down in this area, I'll probably do these 2 right here, I'm thinking. So like this one here. You can see that kind of holds it into place. And actually I think I'll just do those 3 because these ones are, I'll do this bottom one here. As you can see, it's kind of flexing right there. So now you can see that's holding our gasket into place, and it should not slip around as we're getting it up in there, and then all of our holes are lined up. So now let's go ahead and do our use our gasket maker real quick. Okay guys, so as you can see, I got this all cleaned up as well. Like I said, just use some brake clean and some rags, and then if there's any gasket material, like this is where we're going to put that gasket material, just make sure you scrape that old stuff off if there is any. And then I went ahead and just removed the flex plate cover as well, because that thing was filthy, covered in oil. But this just goes on there, and just kind of like that. And then you have two 13mm bolts on each side. So if you want, you can pull that off and clean that up as well. But now let's go ahead and get our gasket material put on. So on the back side, so you can see where the engine block and all that meets, there's that line right there on both sides. So that's where you want to use the black gasket maker. And then there's two spots up front as well. So go ahead and grab your gasket maker, and then let's go ahead and put a little dab here on each side, because you can see there's still some old, but it's inside the crack there. Same with right there, just a little bit. But you want to just go ahead and use some of this. And I should probably let me cut this hole a little bigger. Okay, so I cut that hole just a little bit bigger. We'll go ahead and squeeze some of this on there. So I'm going to do just a dab kind of like that. Same thing on this side. That should be good like that. Let's go to the front. So then go ahead and do the fronts here. It's a little harder to access, but that one right there, and then this one right here. There's that side. And there's that side. Don't really need too much, just a little dab there. So now let's go ahead and get our oil pan back up in here. Again, make sure that gasket surface is clean and get this in before that gasket maker starts curing. What I'm catching on. There we go. Let's try to get that lined up and grab a couple of your bolts that you can get started here. And make sure you get that lined up perfectly before you press it on, because of that gasket maker that's on there. So I'm thinking right there. Grab a couple of these. Just get a couple of those just kind of started loosely. Same with on this side. Of course that one fell out. Let's try this again here. Okay, so I got these two back ones started here. So now let me go grab a couple of those front ones. So then do a couple of these up front here. And as you can see, our gasket maker did mess up a little bit, but it's sitting on the actual oil pan gasket, so that's totally fine. So once we lift this back up, it'll make contact with that. And then if you remember, this one was an actual stud. Get that one started. And then this one was a bolt. And now what I'll do, since I got those ones started and kind of lined up, is I'll cut the zip tie. Once you get that cut, go ahead and get your other stud put in here. Get that one started. This one's kind of hard to get started because that oil filter housing's right in the way. It's just hard to get it turning. So if you can get it kind of set in there and then just try and turn this just to get a few threads started on that. Like that. So now let's go ahead and get the rest of the other one started. And then just remember your other stud one is going to go right there on the driver's side. Just past the differential. Started. Then again, go ahead and cut this zip tie here. Pull that out of there. So as you guys saw, I got all those started just with a few threads. So I'm going to get them snug now, and then we'll do the sequence in 3 stages of tightening these and torquing them. So if you notice, the drain plug is right here. So this will be the back of the oil pan. And then pretty much what they want you to do is start out from the middle and then working your way out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Come back down here to 9, 10, 11, 12, and then finishing it off at the front there. So if you guys want to just take a look at that, that's how that's going to go. And then there is 3 stages. So the first one's going to be 18 inch-pounds. Second one, we're going to tighten to 89 inch-pounds. And then the third stage, just another additional 45 degrees, which really isn't much at all. So I'm going to go ahead and get these just snugged up first, and then we'll do the 3 stages of torquing it. All right, guys, so I got all those bolts torqued down and everything in the 3 stages, starting with stage 1, 18 inch-pounds, stage 2, 89 inch-pounds, and then stage 3, another 45-degree turn. And I didn't record any of that just because it would have took too long for me to set up my camera into all these different positions for all those bolts. So plus I didn't want to give that RTV time to cure already, so I had to kind of hurry and get all that done. So got all those torqued down, so let's continue moving on. And then if you guys did what I did, taking off the flex plate cover here, go ahead and put that back on. And then if you notice, there is the trans side, so you can see that says trans side, so make sure you get that where it needs to be. And then get your 13mm bolts in here. And we'll go ahead and tighten these up. And then I'm just going to go ahead and put my new drain plug in here, 15mm, and just get that snug. So while we're on this side, let's go ahead and plug in our oil level sensor here, and then you got this clip that goes into the oil pan there. You can get that lined up. then go ahead and plug this in. Make sure you hear it click, then just give it a pull, make sure it ain't gonna come out of there. Next, I'm gonna get this sway bar out of the way, because this thing is really in the way. So go ahead and get your bushings lined up there. Grab your covers here. Get those on. Just get those started, and then I'll jump over here to the other side. Same with this side here. And I can just feel there's so much dirt and crap in here. I need to just get a vacuum and get all this crap out of here. So that's just going to create a ton of rust. Grab your 15mm, let's go ahead and get those snug, and then we'll torque those as well. And then you'll go ahead and torque those to 41 foot-pounds. And then go ahead and get this bolt back in that goes through your transmission lines here. Tighten that up with your 13mm. And then while you're over here, go ahead and get this piece slid back onto this bracket on that oil pan there. It should just push into place like that. So then back up front here, and I went ahead and just reached underneath and connected that black connector that goes on that stud right behind the oil filter housing here. And then you can see this one kind of lines up when you do that. Pop that one on there. Now let's go ahead and get these lines put back on here. So first, go ahead and do your wiring harness. I guess maybe I should have, before I connected that one in the back there, should have did this one first, I guess. Let's see if I can stretch it. There we go. So yeah, maybe before you connect that one towards the back for this wiring harness, maybe do this one up front here. Might make it a little easier. Get your lines on there. Get your 10mm nut put back on here, and go ahead and tighten that up. So now before I get that little oil filter drain cover thing in and then our oil filter, let's go ahead and get the differential put into place. Okay guys, so now let's go ahead and see if we can get this bolt lined up first. So I'm going to go ahead and jack up on the differential there, see if we can raise it and kind of tilt it over that way to get that bolt through that hole there. stuck here. So once you get it kind of jacked up, you can actually move it with the drive shaft here. So I think right there. Go ahead and stick that bolt through. That kind of started. So before you go ahead and start tightening that one on the back, you want to come to the front here. And let's see if we can get this one through. And looks like it just needs to go over that way just a little bit. So let me see if I can get something in here to maybe pry the differential that way. Or let me just see if I can rock it here. That might have been enough. Get that one through like that. Get that started. And then lastly, let's just get this one through and started as well before we tighten. So go ahead and grab this. Lift up on your axle here. Push that through. And you can't really start this. You need to get a wrench to get that one started. So let me grab that. Kind of get that one started for now. Now let's go ahead and tighten up those other ones first. So grab your 21 millimeter. Go ahead and get that one snug. And then your 18 millimeter on that one up there. Tighten that up. And my socket got stuck on there, of course. And then, of course, this one here. Get that nice and snug and tight. Like that. So now we can go ahead and get our jack out of here and out of the way. Go ahead and lower that. Next, go ahead and grab your cross member piece here. Get that lined up, and then just remember these need to face down, because that's for your skid plate to screw into. Let's get those holes kind of lined up, and then you may need to take just a mallet. That in place. Stick your bolts through. Get your nuts on one side there, and then we'll go ahead and tighten these up. Again, your nut size is going to be 18 millimeter. And then the bolts will be 15 millimeter. Next, go ahead and get this oil filter tray put back in. Got that all cleaned up. Remember how nasty that was. Next, go ahead and grab your new oil filter, and then just put a little bit of brand new oil on the gasket there. Go ahead and screw that on. And you just want to tighten this hand tight is all. Don't need to use a wrench because the one I took off, somebody tightened way too tight. Get that snug. And just go ahead and wipe that off. Okay, so now we can go ahead and start filling. I'm going to wait to get the skid plate on just because I want to get it filled and get it started and everything, and then we can take a peek under here and make sure it's not leaking before we get that skid plate on. So now we should be able to start filling. So go ahead and grab a funnel, stick that in there. Yeah, let's go ahead and begin filling. Now I think these take right around 8.8, but I'm going to go ahead and just start out with 8 quarts. Next, go ahead and grab yourself a funnel here. We'll stick that in there. We'll begin filling. And I believe these are right around 8.8 quarts, but I'm going to go ahead and start out with just 8 quarts, and then we'll start it and we'll check our level and see where we're at. So go ahead and start filling. Okay, so that right there, that's going to be right around 8 quarts. Get your funnel out of here. Put your cap back on. So now let's go ahead and start it. And then watch your oil pressure build up over there on the left. You can see it built up. So then just crawl underneath here. Take a look at your pan gasket. Make sure you're not leaking any oil. See, that looks good. And then just take a peek up front here. And that looks good as well. So then you can go ahead and shut it off. And then we'll give this a few minutes, let that oil get down to the bottom of the pan there, and then we'll recheck our level and add some if we need to. But while we wait for that, let's go ahead and put on the skid plate. So then go ahead and get your skid plate on. Grab your 4 13mm bolts. Get those lined up and tighten them up. So then come over here to the driver's side. Let's go ahead and check our dipstick here. Go ahead and wipe it off. First go around. Get that clean. Stick it back down in there. Bring it up. Check your level here. So if you see, so it looks like, not sure if you guys can see that, but we're right at the bottom there. So I'm going to go ahead and add that 0.8, and that should bring us right to the top here. Okay, so I'm going to try that about right there, and let's see where that measures at. So go ahead and check your level again here, see where we're at now. And if you take a look, my camera will zoom in there. You can see we're just below the top of the crosshairs there, so we should be fine because some of that's still probably draining down, so that should climb right to the top there. So 8.8 quarts and you'll be full. And then don't forget to reset your oil life light. So go ahead and turn the key to the on position without starting it. And then we're going to use these arrows and this OK button to do this. So you're going to scroll to the left and then you're going to go down to settings, hit OK, go down to vehicle, hit OK, go down to oil life reset, hit OK, and set to 100%, and you're going to hold OK to reset. So go ahead and hold it, and reset complete. That's all there is to it. And then you can go back to whatever it was on, which I think was fuel economy there. All right, so that's all there is to it. Again, this was a 2011 Ford F-150 with a 5.0 Coyote engine. Went ahead and replaced the oil pan gasket. And it's really not too bad on this truck. I've done a lot worse. It looks more intimidating than it really is. So I'm hoping this video helps you guys out. And if it does, why don't you hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you get notifications on my new videos. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.